Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Clams. I'm out here on Long Island and I wanted to do a little bit of yellow perch fishing today, but doing a little bit of scouting right now. It's a bit of a warmer day, but let me show you, everything is still frozen over. I don't know if you can tell, but there is a good amount of ice on everything, so I won't be able to get my lure where it needs to be. So I think we're gonna head back to the house and actually sharpen my knife. All right, so sharpening your knife. One of the most important things you can do to help your cooking, believe it or not, is to have a sharp knife. This is your tool. You want to upkeep all of your tools. Now, most people have one of these in their house. This is not a sharpener. This is what's called a honer. And the honer is mainly for maintenance in between sharpening. And to sharpen, what you need is a stone. Now, this is a whetstone. I've had it soaking for about 30 minutes. You can do a dry stone. I actually like the whetstone because you can use a finer grit and get a nicer edge on your knife. So a lot of whetstones are two sides. One side's going to be a little bit heavier grit. That'll give you your nice new edge, and then a finer grit which will fine tune it and basically replace your honer. So what is happening is that on the edge of your knife, you have your edge, and over time, it's like little teeth that start to separate. So as they start to separate, if you take your honer and run your knife down your honer like so, it brings the teeth back together. But over time, as you keep using your knife and cutting things, hitting it on the board, scraping it on the board, a lot of those little teeth will then break off. So now you have a missing piece of your edge. So what you need to do is take it to the stone, and that is going to grind down to a new edge. And that's why I like the really fine stone. So this is 1,000 and 400. So we'll start on the 400 side. And that will bring it down, give you a nice new edge, and keep your knife very, very sharp. So let's get into how to put a new edge on our knife, on our stone. So with the whetstone, you guessed it, you definitely want to use enough water. Another thing I like to do, put down a towel to keep it from sliding while we are putting on our new edge. So with your knife, you want to hold it at a consistent angle, at a consistent degree. That's probably the hardest part when you first start out with this, is holding your knife consistently as you move it down to the tip at a consistent angle. And that's what you're using this hand for. Then you're going to take two fingers and put them down towards the edge of the knife, and you're applying just a little bit of pressure as you're coming forward, and then releasing that pressure as you come back. So as you're doing this, the only part of the knife that you are sharpening is where your two fingers are. So it's a very slow, Zen-like process that you have to set aside time, and that's why a lot of people don't do it, because it is time consuming. But once you put a new edge on your knife, nothing compares. It is the greatest thing, and the fact that you did it makes it even more special. But so we do this, and then slowly move two fingers up. And again, when I push, I'm applying pressure. When I pull back, I'm taking that pressure off, but I'm not taking my fingers off of the blade. And with the finer grit, it is going to take a while. Again, put on some music, do this with a movie running, anything to keep you occupied, or just meditate on the sharpening. I'm also not pushing down so hard. I'm not trying to push the knife through the stone. It is a very gentle, even pressure. So I'm going to work on this side for a bit. When we flip over to the other side, I'll show you how to do that. Now, as you have worked your way all the way to the tip, I don't know if you're going to be able to totally see it there, but there should be, where you've ground, a nice even new edge all along there. And it should be very, very uniform all the way across. We're getting closer. But I like to go all the way to the edge, make sure that I'm holding my angle right, and then go again. So you check just to make sure, again, that the new edge that you're putting on is nice and uniform. If you see any dips in it or anything, you can spot treat those. Like right here, I see that it's a little bit uneven. So just make sure again that my angle is right. And a little bit more there. And what you can see is on this side that we've done, we have that nice new beveled edge. And on this side, there's nothing. And this knife really, really needed a little bit of work. So now we're going to do the other side. So same idea, but just a little bit of a different motion. So again, hold your angle, 2 fingers again, and now when I pull towards myself, I'm applying the pressure. When I come forward, I'm letting it off without ever taking my 2 fingers off. And then we move up 2 finger spaces, just like the other side. And now I can see on that I'm actually holding a little bit more of an angle than I wanted to on the other side because of the thickness of that new bevel. So what I'm going to do is go over the spaces that I just went and hold my knife a little bit lower. And that's why this takes time and care. You really have to pay attention and you really have to look closely. And if you put in the time and care, the payoff is it's next to nothing. I mean, cutting with a sharp knife is everything. It is everything. When I'm on the boat, a lot of times I get a little bit lazy and I let the knives get dull, and I'm sure you've even seen in videos trying to fillet some of the fish or cut through some things with a dull knife. It's not fun, and it's actually how you're going to hurt yourself because you're applying more pressure. So if you slip, you have all that pressure behind a knife. With a nice sharp edge like this, it takes nothing to cut through fish, chicken, steak, vegetables. It is world of difference. Okay, now that we've completed both sides, we wipe it off, and now what I do is I run my thumb up each side. Very, very slow. Just run my thumb up like this. And what I'm looking for, there you go, just found one. And the other side. Run my fingers up on that side. We need just a little touch up. So what I'm looking for is that as you apply pressure, if you apply a little bit too much and you do one side then the other side, you can actually put your tip at about there. And that's where honing comes in. Honing is going to bring that back because that is so razor thin now because we sharpened it to a point. It's actually very delicate. So, like there, I can definitely feel it. So very, very gently, we just do a couple of times just to tune that in. A little bit more work. Down here needs some. But again, it's a very gentle, relaxing process and takes a lot of time and care. Okay, now that I have that pretty darn close, we're gonna flip our whetstone over to the 1000 grit side. Add some water, and now even more gently, we're gonna do the whole process over again. And what this is doing is getting rid of any kind of inconsistency because now we have an entirely new edge all the way down from the base all the way to the tip of our knife. But there's probably little spots where we can fine tune it, and that's all we're doing now. And kind of like the saying, quantity over quality. Yeah, you want quality over quantity. Here, it's almost the opposite, where I could do this a lot faster, putting more pressure and going crazy. I would rather do more strokes back and forth at a lighter pressure than do really hard ones to try to get that edge off. I would rather slowly work that edge. And right now, this knife is super sharp. It was pretty sad. That is nice. Feel again for any barbs. And now the other thing is that I know taking out the whetstone, soaking it, doing all that, you know, right before you're about to slice up some tomatoes or something, it's not the most practical thing in the world. So this is set aside. I try to do it on a rainy day or just out of boredom or whatever, but it is really good to upkeep your knives. But in between, if you do use your honer, so one thing I see people do is go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Don't do that. Go 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. And that's it. And that's going to bring that edge back to center. The other thing, exactly like your stone, when you're doing that, you're trying to hold an angle and holding the same angle on the other side. So the same idea as holding your angle here and holding your angle here. It's pretty good. The true test . I think we did good. All right, that's for everyone that's been asking about knife sharpening, and you know, what better day than when the fishing sucks to sharpen up my knives, and it is really important. Well, thanks guys. Thanks for the short video. I thought it would be helpful, and I'll see you on the next one.